Okay, fellas, here we are. A grand entrance. Snowy's going to make this grand entrance right now.
I am.
Live. Live on the Metal Voice. Ta-da! There's the man.
Da, 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 da.
And there's the book.
Yeah.
Our guest today, Snowy Shaw. Oh boy, he's played with everyone. King Diamond, Mercyful Fate, Therion,
Stevie Wonders.
Dream Evil.
Everyone.
He's just played with everyone. I think we have to just name the people you haven't played with. That's how we should
Yeah,
start.
that's probably easier. Yeah.
He's
I
played.
tried to
with
get
himself.
into Bee Gees, but they wouldn't allow me. I didn't have a high pitch enough.
Not high enough. All right. So here we are on the Metal Voice, talking with Snowy Shaw, his book. But you want to show your book? The book of heavy metal.
Here it is. The
book?
444 page
Look at that. Show the thickness.
heavy
Show the
metal
thickness.
Bible.
Show the thickness. Turn it around.
The thickness, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, look at that.
Or is that upside
Yeah.
down? Here it is. Yeah. It's like that. Yeah. There you go.
That's
Here's
it.
some, what do you say, 4 words from Mickey D. He's
Yes.
been like a kind of like a mentor to me and shit. So he says some nice words at the end of the book or in the beginning on the front. Whoops.
Jeez. Don't break that. It's like a brick.
Hold on.
Okay. All right. We'll just talk amongst ourselves, Giles.
Yeah, well, the one thing I got to say about the book is I've got the book. I've read the book. This is something that will take you by surprise because Snowy has played with so many people. He's got a great, his observations as he's worked his way through his career from the very, very, very early days, with joining with King Diamond and Memento Mori and all these other bands he's played with and his own solo stuff. It's a really, really great read. Even if you're not 100% familiar with everything he's done after King Diamond, after Merciful Fate, or any points that you may be unsure of, it's a great read anyway to get informed. And it's a great take on the scene, the genre, and everything he's been a part of. It's one of the best books I've ever read, actually, and it's written by a musician.
Look at that, Snowy. Look at
That's
that.
great.
Right there.
Yeah.
Look at that testimonial right there.
I think
10 books
Snowy's
sold right there.
Snowy's book and David Lee Roth's book would be my 2 favorites.
Oh, I like David Lee Roth's book.
I so appreciate that. Coming from a guy who barely reads any books at all. I mean, I read a couple of biographies, and that's what I do. And to actually write a book in English, not being our first language and all that. And but it took some time, and I think we get to that. Yeah.
Snowy, okay, so why did you decide, it was, what, a year and a half ago that you started this book, or you completed this book? Just what was the idea behind it? Why did you feel the need, let's say a year and a half ago, a year ago, to write it?
So why did I write this book? I was supposed to have this show on a Saturday and it got canceled, and I just figured, yeah, why the hell not? Let's write a fucking book. How hard can it be? And I did. And I was done by the day after. Not really. I mean, it was a long process. It actually started out right after I turned 40. And some people may say that is just a number. And I try to sort of tap into that. Yeah, it's just a number. But to me, it felt like I hit the crossroads, sort of like. Now I can't deny it anymore. I'm a middle-aged fucking man. And what have I accomplished and achieved in my life? For some reason, despite the fact that I had been out for a full year, like as a singer and frontman with Therion all over the world, I had this kind of crash after I turned 40 because you start to look at yourself and yeah, ask yourself those kind of questions. And so I had like 3 options, and writing a book didn't cross my mind at all to begin with. I was either, number one, I take a nosedive from the Gothenburg Bridge,
It's freezing up.
and all the hard-earned money I earned through my life on therapy for the next 2 decades or something. But as I was sitting there, all I could see was really, really dark. Then it crossed my mind that I felt light. And in order to deal with my inner demons, if you will, or unfinished business or whatever, just to distance myself and take a step back and look at it objectively as some sort of self therapy, homemade therapy, if you want. So that is what I did back then after I turned 40, and I went home and I just wrote and it was in dark November in Gothenburg. It's rainy and gray and fucking boring. And like I said, I couldn't see anything positive. Everything was pitch black dark. I was like the biggest loser ever, I thought. So, but one day, actually, after a couple of weeks, I looked out the window and happened to see the sun. And to me, that represented, I saw that as a sign of, okay, I'm on the road to recovery here. I can actually see some light, some positivity here. And after that, I put it aside and got back in the saddle, so to speak, and, started working with music again. And I figured, me who had never written any journal, kept any journal or writing any diary or anything like that, I thought to myself that, okay, maybe I should just continue writing. Every once in a while when I have like things popping up in my head and I remember all stuff that I need to kind of get out in the open, like a catharsis or whatever. And I kept doing that. And after some time, it sort of crossed my mind that, maybe other people would learn something from reading this. And it would be interesting also, because I mean, my life's been such a long road of, I call it in the book, rock and roller coaster, like a constant ups and downs, but I have a tendency of quitting bands. I mean, people may think about like, why would you think about quitting Mercyful Fate or Sabaton, all those bands? And what can I say? I mean, I just follow my heart all the way through. And I certainly haven't made it very easy for myself. I mean, no one can excuse me of taking the easy road. But I mean, essentially why I'm doing this is to have some sort of outlet and platform for my creativity. So
yeah. Just so you know,
I'm writing about all that. So it's interesting for other people to read this. What?
Yeah. Sometimes you break up. I don't know, Giles. Do you get him breaking up?
Yeah,
sometimes?
we're getting a lot of internet dropouts. I think it seems to be coming from you, Snowy. Maybe are you downloading a movie or something, or are you?
I am not.
Close all your browsers. If you have anything open, best to just close
not.
it.
So what could that be?
Netflix? I don't know.
Let me see here.
Yeah. If you have anything, maybe there's emails. Every time an email comes in, it just drops the feed.
Okay. Viewers here? Okay, maybe I shouldn't have Photoshop
Everything helps.
running, right? Yeah, I closed down my mails now.
All right, hopefully that helps.
We should have tried this before. It seemed to be better?
It's okay.
Okay.
Alrighty. Giles, you got another question there?
Well, I mean, just to recap, I mean, I did catch a lot of what Snowy was saying.
Hopefully it's slightly better now.
All right.
Okay.
And I did. I mean, just any question I had, I did catch a lot of what you were saying there, even though we had some intermittent dropouts. Is, you said, why would you quit Mercyful Fate? Why would you quit Sabaton? Why would you quit? So let me ask the question: why did you quit Mercyful Fate? Why did you quit Sabaton?
You know what? You can read it in the book. You already did.
There we go.
Well, you know what? High level.
But in the case of Mercyful Fate, oh, come on. Go on, Jimmy.
I'm just trying to say, like, maybe we should backtrack a little bit, right? Like,
Absolutely.
before you quit, maybe we should talk about getting into it.
Yeah, yeah. But
So,
as I was saying, I mean, if we had, let's see, if we had technical dropouts and all that here, I was saying that gradually, I kept writing on this off and on for about 10 years before I
mhm,
figured that, okay, it's time to wrap it up and get it published. But it didn't start out like I wanted to put out a book, but it was started out like homemade self-therapy, and it sort of morphed into a biography. And
okay.
so that's what I did, basically to cure myself in a way, in some sort of catharsis, and get it all out, and to heal myself first of all, and also that people can read about that, because I'm very, very, let's say, open, like I am in normal life. Yeah, I don't keep a lot of like all those, what do you say, fantasies. I'm telling the truth the way it is. I mean, there's a lot of preconceptions about the music business, like it's so glamorous and lucrative and all that. But I've been doing this for 30, 40 years here now. So it's everything but that.
Yeah,
And I have to tell them that you have to struggle hard to stay afloat, I guess.
yeah. But let's go back in time here a bit, right?
Yeah,
Conspiracy. And,
yeah,
we're not going to talk about all the details because people could buy the book, right? But overall
yeah,
impressions, right? You're
yeah.
offered the chance, and I think it's probably through Mickey D, that the opportunity to tour with King Diamond on his conspiracy tour, right? What's your reaction? Your first reaction to something like that? Is King Diamond somebody you've admired all these years? Are you nervous about this? Or
You going back to this, I mean, you can actually read all about that in great
yeah.
detail. I mean, I discovered Mercyful Fate on this Metal Massacre compilation album, like in
Hmm.
'83, maybe, I think it was. And I think it was Metal Blade who put that out. So
Were they
it was
unknown?
predominantly American bands. And I
Yeah.
just assumed they were too. And I mean, because of "Oh, Hail Satan!" all that, the way he sang, I mean, it was like the highest pitch falsetto. And the song was catchy, and it was Black Funeral. And I got really into that band, but I had no clue, because this was like pre-internet, of course. Uh, and I had no clue they were from our neighborhood country, Denmark. So, and I saw him in a Swedish publication called OK later on. It's like, wow, it's like there's some weird cousin of Alice Cooper with, corpse paint and having this upside down cross, human bones and all that. And he would fill up in dolls, pig intestines or whatever, throughout in the audience. Like, wow, that's really disgusting. But I wasn't turned off by it. It's like, wow. And I went out and bought Melissa right away. And I was like really mesmerized with the band, and I really love it. And I thought to myself, wow, this is so complicated music. I mean, all those time changes, and how can they even remember half of it? But as so turns out, Mickey, who I knew since I was 13 because he was playing in a local rock band and all, I think he moved to Copenhagen because nothing really happened in Sweden at that point, I suppose. So he moved to Copenhagen, and he made a name for himself. And he also brought along other people like Pete Black and so on. And they were playing with a Danish band called Geisha. But then when Mercyful Fate, okay, now I'm going really long way back, but tell me the whole history. So he got the offer from King Diamond when they split up Mercyful Fate, and King was going to continue as like the solo artist and bring along Denner and Timmy Hansen.
Hmm.
So that's how it all started. So I knew him, and if we go back or forward actually a few years, I was home from a school when I was like starting way up north in Sweden on the Christmas day. It's traditional that you hang out and party and all that. And Mickey was back home from Los Angeles because they all moved there in 1987. And he was saying that, okay, I think you should take over the drum stool after me because I'm going to quit King Diamond. But we were both drunk, sort of. So I thought it's just the alcohol doing the talking, basically. And I was, apart from the fact that I really liked Mercyful Fate and King Diamond, theatrical. It's like an extension of, let's say, Kiss, Alice Cooper, Black Sabbath, and so forth, and Uriah Heep, stuff that I really love. I was mostly interested in creating my own stuff, and it's always been like that. But so I didn't think about it. I just brushed it off. And Pete Black got back to me a couple of months later, and and gave me that offer again. And I thought to myself, this must be some sort of symbol. If it happens twice, I cannot turn this down. I mean, this is bound to happen. This is my destiny, I suppose.
Yeah.
So then I was like thrown into this completely crazy circus. I mean, I'd never been to America before, and Los Angeles, just walking up the Sunset Strip in 1989 in the summer. I mean, that was the epicenter of the fucking hair metal thing, which I hated. but I mean, it was nice to see it firsthand, and to be thrown into that melting pot, so to speak, it was completely mind-blowing. And I was such a rookie, so green. I had no clue about anything, but I knew how to play the drums, and that's why they hired me. So it was a good learning experience.
No. To me, if I was like hard as a drummer back then, like I remember King Diamond back then and Conspiracy, and I would be like, back then he used to go in the media and he used to say, well, who's going to defend Satan? I'm going to defend Satan. He was a Satanist back then, right? He was a proclaimed Satanist, and I guess he pushed away from that over time. But was there any scare? Were you scared there? Maybe you're jumping into this guy who loves Satan too much, or you didn't care, or
yeah, but
even Vinny Appice, right? When he first got, on the plane with Black Sabbath, he goes, "Where am I here? What's going to happen to me?" All these crosses.
Yeah, but you can read about that in great detail. We got actually thrown off the flight and all that, and we got arrested and all because and I was like just this normal guy, and Pete Black and Hal Patina, that had been on tour with the band, and they kind of developed a bit of a rock star attitude, to say the least. So, and I was like just staring with my blue eyes there, what the fuck is going on? When they were like really rude to the staff or whatever, and got ourselves thrown off, and the whole, everybody in the cabin were applauding, woo, get rid of those fucking assholes and shit. So what kind of drama am I thrown into here? I was like,
that's
so
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It must be
but
crazy.
it was really good. I mean, I was just kind of observing the whole thing. Okay, and trying to, not trying to blend in, but trying to understand how it works, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the whole Satan thing. When we first came to and landed after a couple of days of a lot of turmoil there or something, and I met King for the first time. I didn't really have any kind of expectations what he would be like, but because we grew up with all this kind of bullshit in a kind of, it was a good selling point in the early 80s, like, oh, we're Motley Crue using the pentagram and Wasp throwing meat at the audience and blah blah blah, all that. Of course it's scary, but that's what attracts you. The same way you're going to go to watch horror movies, for instance. I mean, it's fiction, of course, and that's the difference. It's fiction and then reality. And in King's case, he wanted to be more trustworthy or real than Ozzy and those guys before him, of course. So, of course, I'm a true Satanist. I'm a go to the Church of Satan, and yeah. But anyway, I came to the King's Castle, which wasn't a castle, obviously, but an apartment in Canoga Park. And he was sitting there with his baseball cap on, chain smoking, playing some sort of soccer game. And he was the nicest guy you can imagine, like really humble and serious and all that. And I tried to talk to him, but I couldn't understand Danish very well. So I tried to, so it didn't really work when we tried to communicate. But he was like the most
Swedish and
guy.
Finnish are close, right, in language? Swedish and Finnish,
Danish,
but Danish is like off.
Yeah, but it is. But what can I say? Yeah, let's say it's like Spanish and Portuguese, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, okay. Right. Giles, do you have any...
Well,
yeah,
I mean, obviously, we've all read the book, so we know the answers to all these questions. But for the sake of the viewers who are maybe wanting to get an idea of what the book's about, we're just kind of touching on various topics and maybe getting some answers that are highlights for what can be in a greater detail found in the book. Yeah. So, I mean, you did the Conspiracy tour, you did the next record with King, you toured a little bit behind the eye. What happened after that? Eventually, you transitioned into Mercyful Fate, but that was not immediate, was it? They were using a
I
different
can tell you,
drama.
yeah, correction there. Nothing happened after the Eye. We did one festival in Denmark, and that's it. And then the contract, King decided to terminate with Roadrunner because he was kind of, yeah, they've been with that label for a long time. And since this was, yeah, it was up to re-sign or whatever, he decided to aim for a major label, I think. And so, and we had been out touring so much, like in America and in Europe, and it creates a little bit of tension, I guess, with some members and so on. And there was issues with drugs and alcohol and you know, bad behavior or whatever. So we kind of lost 2 members there. So while Ole Bang, the manager in King Diamond, were shopping for a new contract, he put me and Andy in charge of finding new members. And we figured that would happen pretty quickly, that he got signed, but it turned out that it took quite a long time. So we got Mike Weed and Charlie D'Angelo. You can read all of the details about it. It's kind of interesting, I gotta say. But how I kind of manipulated the whole thing and took I had all the applicants, whatever they say, sent to my mom, where I said like SOS manager on the door. And but Charlie D'Angelo, it was like my best friend from when we were kids and stuff. And he was a decent guitar player, very, very musical. I mean, like a natural talent and all that. But he could never live up to deliver those, you know, face melting fast solos like Yngwie Malmsteen and yeah, Paul Gilbert or whoever. So I said, that's a shame, but can't you pretend that you are a bassist instead? So he just borrowed a bass, and I took all the rivals and throw out, you know, so he got the job and all that, you know. So that's how it happens. But anyway, so that's how we had a new lineup for with Mike Weed and Charlie D'Angelo. And we had a new lineup for Spider's Lullaby, and we were supposed to record that, and we started like learning the songs and so forth. But time went by, and one day King called me and said that we haven't got signed to any new labels, but we got great offers to play, what is it, that Holland festival, Dynamo Festival, to headline that, and also to get signed to Metal Blade, I think it was, with Mercyful Fate. And they didn't want anything to do with Kim Russ, the original drummer. So they wanted to put together the original lineup, but featuring me, who was still in the family, so to speak. And how could I turn that down? I mean, I was like a big fan from when I was 14, 15 years old. And I said, well, of course. So I was supposed to do both King Diamond and Mercyful Fate parallel. But, you know, so Mercyful Fate got back together. It took a while, actually, you know, so I heard sort of in the grapevine, whatever you say, I mean, rumors that they got another Danish drummer, because at that point King had moved back to Denmark from America, and so they were based in Copenhagen, and then it was a whole lot easier to have a Danish drummer. So I figured, okay, shit happens, that's the way it is.
Was there? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, but that was this guy Morten Nielsen or whatever his name is, I don't remember. Yeah, so he was the one doing In the Shadows album, recording that in Dallas. But during the recording, they realized that he wouldn't cut it. For some reason, I had some problems there. So I think King or Ole Bang or Hank or whoever called me and said that, okay, we want you to be the drummer in the band, but we're already in the studio recording the album. And I was saying that, okay, I would kind of insisting on that.
There it is.
Ugly picture. Yeah. Yeah.
You've done the Rudy Sarzo, Tony Aldridge, you know, where they appear, their picture appears on the album, but they didn't play, right, as the credit.
Yeah, but I mean, I was kind of stressing the fact that I would love to record the drums, and they say, but we're already running late and we're out of budget, and we spend so much time making the drums work here. So now it's time for Hank to put down all the rhythm guitars and all that. So we don't have time. And I looking back on it now, I wish that I would have been more persistent, or sort of say, oh, okay, either I'm in the band and then I recorded drums, or I'm out. But who was I to say that? I mean, I had a chance to be in the legendary Mercyful Fate and do the tours and all that. So I said, okay, I just hang along. So I actually just took the train down to Copenhagen, shook hands with the guys, went into that photo studio, and click, that's it. Then we went out to have dinner. Yeah. so, and then I was in the band, and we were doing the videos for Egypt and Los Angeles, and starting the US tour. Now we were doing like some shows in Europe, open up for Metallica and so on,
You know, did it bother you, like The Eye, one of my favorite King Diamond albums? I mean, did it bother you that they ended up using a drum machine? And here you are, this amazing drummer, you know.
Yeah, but it's not a drum machine. It's not a drum machine.
Okay.
No. The thing is, hadn't it been for me, I mean, I kind of regret spilling the beans, or actually a slip of a tongue, you would call it. I was doing this interview with Borovoy Kurgin, like for Metal Maniacs, when we were doing the Memento Mori album in '93, I think it was. And he said, wow, I love the drumming. It's so technical and progressive and blah, 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 whatever. So,
that's Borgie.
Yeah.
Blabbermouth.
Yeah. So I was, so I said, yeah, but that was a drum machine. My English was so-and-so, even worse back then. So, but it wasn't a drum machine, obviously. I mean, I was playing on pads, and parts were sort of programmed, because that's what King insisted on doing. We didn't have any time to rehearse or do anything like that. And that was their kind of argument for that. And I couldn't understand it for the world of it. But you can read it all. I mean, I spilled the beans in the book in great detail, but it wasn't a drum machine. I got to say, for the record, that people have this kind of romanticized view on being in the studio, for example, and very askew view of it, because people don't record all together in the studio like in 1972. I mean, it doesn't happen like that, so and you do the drums first of all, for example. And if someone uses a synthesizer, like all these metal guys want to be die hard, fuck keyboards and stuff. All bands, like 95% of all bands nowadays, have pre-recorded backing tracks on stage, because otherwise they can never live up to do a performance that match the recording, where you have like 8 rhythm guitars, for example, and choirs and everything like that. So not everything is the way it's supposed to, the way it's seen from the outside.
But just a confirmed yes or no, like you played the pads, the drum pads on the whole album, right?
Yeah.
Okay, there was no cut and paste.
Yeah, but what can I say? I mean, I haven't played a fucking song all the way through on a recording since, I don't know, 97. That's not how it works. You punch in and out. That's how you do it, because you don't play together. That's
and again, I think you do a really good job in the book of just going into detail in exactly how all that went down. So anyone wondering needs to pick up the book and check that out.
Yeah, but I don't want to spill industry secrets or anything, but in the book, I'm very clear about how it actually works. I mean, people have this kind of romanticized view, like I said, how glamorous and how things go down. And actually, it didn't cross my mind the moment, not Borovoy, but Martin Popov. He did this documentary book, biography on Mercyful Fate. And he called me up, and we just had a little chat. And he said, I heard that Hank was recording the parts over a click track, and then I added the drums. And at that point, I didn't really reflect on it. I said, yeah, of course.
That's what me and Giles were just talking about.
98% of all albums are done like that nowadays. I mean, it's not like we're together, all playing together. Oh, that was a good take. Each instrument is recorded individually, so that's how it works,
Yeah, and you know what, you can do it in any order now. You set up the click track. You can do everything, and you can do drums last. People think singers sing a song top to bottom. Of course not. It'll line by line by line by line.
No, but it doesn't work like that. Yeah, but there are all kinds of those things that I'm let's call it occupational, what do you say, damaged or whatever. I mean, like if you've seen my video Nachtgeist, for example, I showed that to some guy and he said, "Wow, you get really good sound out in the forest." I was like, "What? You really think we play?" Yeah, we just try to look cool and pose there. I'm playing all the instruments. Yeah, but I see you have like 4 guys with you or 3 guys with you. Yeah,
and they're all, you know, for the video, they're all miming to the song being played back on an iPhone, you know?
yeah. Yeah, but that's how it works. I forget that sometimes. That do you really think like stand-up comedians? Wow, he's so funny. He's like so witty. He just come up with all the funny jokes on the spot. No, but he has a script, for God's sake. He's been doing the same show like in every fucking city for 2 years. So do you think it's like totally spontaneous? You know?
Well, yeah. That's the illusion that artists create.
Yeah, but you try to create that kind of illusion, but that's
right.
Very,
that's
very
right.
far from it. And live shows nowadays, it's not like Made in Japan, the Purple 1971. It's not like that at all. I mean, there are no room for improvisation or flexibility like that. Pretty much, you know, maybe the bigger bands, Rolling Stones, maybe they do that. I don't know. But for the most part, I mean, you have like 80 minutes to perform the show, and I mean, you have to time the talk in between the songs, and I think it's kind of stale. And that is also why I got a little tired of playing live, because it's so just go through the motions. It's like a musical, you know, like a theater.
Snowy. Speaking of that, do you think that Ghost ripped you off in sort of that?
Yes, I do. No,
I mean, you're both from Sweden. You're both from Sweden. You're both theatrical. You both have the ghouls on stage, and the first thing I think of is he kind of took your idea and he ran with it, or maybe he didn't. I don't know.
Yeah, but it's kind of funny. I mean, I think everything.
Do you know what I'm saying, though? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
There's a similarity
you're certainly not the first one to ask about that. I mean, Gus G, the guitar player, he's like, "What the fuck? I mean, this band is getting so popular, and they're doing what you did with Notre Dame way back." Okay, if you think so, but there are touching grounds, I suppose. But it all stems from, let's say, Arthur Brown starting out like with corpse paint and all that, and then it was Alice Cooper, onto Kiss, onto, you know, this theatrical thing. So we all sort of take bits and pieces and copy and get inspired and do our own version of it. Like, I mean, there wouldn't be, without Alice Cooper, there wouldn't be any Motley Crue, or Wasp is inspired by Kiss and all that. So King Diamond, I mean, he's also a result of Welcome to My Nightmare. Wow, I want to have that kind of theatrical show, you know. So I wouldn't say that Ghost hasn't ripped me off, but they have certainly managed to make it big, which I didn't. so
they kind of found the right formula there. Yeah,
but I was always fascinated by pioneers, sort of the trailblazers, whether it's Arthur Brown, like I mentioned, or Jimi Hendrix, or Black Sabbath, the bands who kind of create something, be the starting point for a new era, a new genre of music, or whatever. Where am I getting at here? I don't know.
The evolution. That's fine.
Yeah, the evolution, but it all stems from the same thing, I suppose, you know. And but this is what I was getting at, that Therion, for example, they were probably the first band who combined heavy metal and opera, but they are not anywhere near as successful as Nightwish, who kind of picked up on that. I can't say that they stole the concept, but they managed to be more accessible and reach a broader audience somehow, you know.
Agreed.
And maybe that's the thing. I mean, the combination with the kind of music that Ghost is doing and the way they present themselves visually, it's a good combination.
Yeah.
And my music was far more, it was underground, you know. It was kind of hard to access.
Mm-hmm. What about, there's people writing in, so I'm just reading a text here. K-Man says, King, before Spider's Lullaby, King had a Plague album. Can Snowy talk about this planned Plague album that was shelved?
I've never heard about that.
You never heard about it? Maybe he's had demos of something of that nature back in the
Well, I
day.
think
Yeah, all I know is that yeah, go on.
Go ahead.
I mean, one thing worth mentioning, and that you do touch on you mentioned in the in Martin Popov's book, and you mentioned it in your book, is that he wouldn't come to you with finished songs. You wouldn't even get to hear the lyrics and the vocals till it was almost released, or you were rehearsing it, right? He would only give you instrumental stuff.
Yeah, but until it was released, actually. But that's how he works. I mean, he is the visionary, and I have no problem at all to be his sort of tool. Okay, whatever you have in your mind, and I can do my best to live up to that. So you can paint your picture. I have no problem with that. But I mean, he would say like, okay, you can't play the drums like that. It's gonna sort of doesn't match with the vocals. Okay, so how is the vocals? I won't tell you. You know.
Right. So is there any concepts such as a concept album about the plague or whatever, you wouldn't know anyway, right? Because that would all be lyrics and vocal stuff.
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, looking back on it, I was there in Mercyful Fate and King Diamond over the period of what is it, like 6 years or something, and working off and on. And he is the instigator. I mean, it's his band, obviously. Yeah. And so he runs the business, whatever he got cooking, I don't know, you know. But what we were presented was a full album that they kind of used to shop for deals with other labels, and that was Spider's Lullaby. And yeah, let me tell you a little bit about that. I mean, I was in the studio in Dallas. Me and Charlie had already finished the drums, and it was time to do the bass. And King called for us to have like a little meeting, and he said, okay, you both in King Diamond and Mercyful Fate. And we had probably Brian Slagle sort of complaining there are too many similarities between Mercyful Fate and King Diamond at that point. 3 out of 5. The only exception is like the guitar players. So he said, since you've already done Time album now, we're going to sort of remove you from King Diamond, and we're going to replace you guys with others. And then I asked, how about Mike Weed, who was the new guitar player for King Diamond at that point? Yeah, but he's also out of the picture. Yeah, but he's not in Mercyful Fate, which he is now. I mean, you see, it's like so much incestuous touching bases here or something. Yeah, but so that is why I kind of left, or we were removed from King Diamond, because we couldn't be in two bands that are so similar, you know. And I think Spider's Lullaby is a great album. It could probably be a lot better if it was executed or performed in a better way. I think it kind of lacks something there, you know.
Yeah. I mean, Andy LaRocque is great. He's been on this show many times. He's fantastic, huge talent. And I'm sure it's a pleasure. I'm sure you are friends with him too. I'm sure you guys.
Yeah, but he I gotta say, I mean, I've been working with him in his studio, mixing my own stuff and all that. And we went out to dinner, and I said, yeah, I gotta tell you, through my life, I mean, you're the most normal guy I know. I mean, you're such a nice, regular guy, and you know, that's a compliment. I mean, I know a lot of weirdos and you know, psychos and shit, but I mean, he's like very regular, normal guy, you know, humble.
You know, do you know that he gave me the shirt? He gave it to me. He was nice enough. He goes, Jimmy, hold on a sec, and he went there, got the shirt. He goes, here. What size are you? Large here. He just gave me the shirt. That's how nice.
He did that on a live stream like that?
No. This is in person. This is in person. This is what I went to see him in person. Before the show, and he's a super nice, normal guy, and he's super talented and a great studio and great producer. And
truly is.
Yeah.
Well, it's in. It's all in the book. And you know, if you want to hold the book up again there, Snowy, so everyone can see who's just joined us, can see what we're talking about. We're talking about The Snowy Shore, the Book of Heavy Metal, the greatest rock book since David Lee Roth's book. Check it out, buy it. The one thing I wanted to ask is, I mean, you've worked with one legendary vocalist, you've worked with several, but a project that almost never gets talked about these days is Memento Mori. You work with Messiah Mark Collin, which. Again, I mean, I'm sure you're a Candlemass fan. I was a huge Candlemass fan. How did that all come together, and what was that like?
Uh, like I mentioned, when King Diamond was after the Eye in this hiatus
Yeah.
and it kind of took a whole lot longer time than we expected. All of a sudden, Andy wanted to make a solo album, and I was supposed to be in on that, playing the drums and also write the lyrics and stuff. And so things was happening on the side. I had my own things, you know. And then Mike Weed, who was the new guitar player, he called me up and he asked me, I'm thinking about starting this technical doom metal band. And do you know any good drummer? And I thought about it for like a couple of seconds. And I said, nah, not really, except me. so, and he wanted me to be in that band. But being such a massive Cannabis fan as I am, I said, the genre doom metal, I mean, if you ask me, there's only Cannabis. That's the top
Right.
of it.
Yeah.
So I said, but who's going to be the singer? Because that is kind of a very crucial thing for me. I think the singer is like the front of the band and what people listen to in general and all that. So that is essential, that it's got to be the right kind of person there. And he said, I was thinking about Messiah because he was fired from Cannabis at that point, been out for 2 years or something, a year or something. But anyways, I said, yeah, that puts the whole thing in a whole different light, because I loved Cannabis. They were supporting King Diamond on a European tour, Conspiracy, and it was such a pleasure to just see them. We might, like sound check for 2 hours, playing kind of technical music, and they had no time at all. They just put up their stuff. He put on his monk suit, and they start, and they just kill it. And I was like, wow, this is the greatest band on the planet. So after the first show and we were partying, I said, this is not right. I mean, we got to swap positions. You got to be the headlines, so because I really loved Cannabis so much, and I still do. But to me, with Messiah, I think he was like the most, that he called up Leif Edling back in the day. He said, hey, I want to be the singer in the band. No, but you live down south. No, not anymore. He called back a week later, and then he moved to Stockholm. So, and that is like, what do you say? I mean, those two meet, those combinations, Messiah, Markolin, and Cannabis, that was the perfect combination, I think.
It really was.
So when he was going to be in Memento Mori, I was like, wow, this is wonderful. This is going to be so great. And I had like put him on a pedestal, and I thought he was God himself. But after a couple of days in the studio, I could see, first of all, I couldn't understand, how can they fire such a character, such a great singer and all that, such a front person. But like I put in the book, and I said, after working with him a couple of days in the studio, I could see, oh, now I understand, But you have to read about that in the book. He read it, and he unfriended me, and he got so pissed off.
Did you get a lot of that? Did you get a lot of unfriending after you put out the book?
I kind of thought to myself that I don't want to be, okay, here I'm sitting in my room and I can be saying nasty things about all my old friends and stuff. I made sure not to be like vindictive.
Yeah, it's not like that. It's not like that.
Yeah, but I just wanted to tell the truth from my point of view. And I think a lot of people share that point of view when it comes to certain people. So it's just not me in getting back at them or anything like that. I love how he sang and all that. But to work with him, I'm sorry. I tried to bring him into Opera Diabolicus and to invite him to my own solo show so we can do some Memento Mori, old tracks and all that. But it's kind of impossible, And he's such a nice guy. I mean, when you meet him hanging out, drinking beer and all that, you cannot think of a nicer guy. But you got to separate business from pleasure, I suppose,
Yeah. Were you a little upset when Mercyful Fate announced that they were going to play some shows and they didn't call you back, or were you a little disappointed maybe?
Not upset, but I think my wife, she called me from work and said, yeah, I saw Mercyful Fate is getting back together. Weren't you involved in that band? Yes, I was. So, but what lineup is it? So I called Mike Weed because he's going to be there. Yeah. So it means that Michael Denner won't be there. So who's gonna who's playing the drums then? I asked. Is it Bjarne who replaced me? And he said, yeah, it's Bjarne. Yeah, but we're gonna continue on the last album, 9 or whatever it was called, that came out in 1998 or something.
Yeah.
And we're gonna pick it up from there. And I said, yeah, but how about Charlie D'Angelo then? No, but we haven't contacted him. It's gonna be Joey Vera, I think, you know. But there's been so much talk about that. I don't know. I don't want to get involved in that. So I wasn't upset. I mean, I haven't been in that band for many years. So.
But would you would have liked it, right? To at least to ask you, maybe.
Maybe so. I don't know. I mean, I kind of want to move forward and take on new challenges instead of trying to, not to say cash in on old stuff, but of course it could be nice to do that. But I mean, I'd rather move forward and take on new challenges and instead of going backwards. Just like you don't go back to an old girlfriend that you dumped 20 years ago, right?
Yeah. No, I get it.
Yeah.
Not if you're smart.
Not if you're smart. But people do that. People do that.
Yeah.
People do that.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem to work out the second time around either.
No.
I don't know. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
My sex life?
Well,
Let's
maybe
talk
not too much about that.
Well,
I don't know.
you did the two. I mean, you did the 2 records with Memento Mori, the initial 2, and
Yeah.
I thought they were fantastic doom metal. I thought that was a brilliant band that obviously didn't really live up to its full potential for some reasons that you mentioned in the book. So we can again, it's in the book. Buy the book, get the book. I mean, let's talk about your current plans.
Yeah.
You've got some cool stuff going on. You've got we have
Yeah, but what I did, I mean, during this damn pandemic shit that's, affected everyone all over the planet, I put out this album. No, I didn't. I figured in this day and age, the record industry is kind of dying or changing drastically. Nobody downloads a full album, for example, and they certainly won't buy any physical albums. I mean, of course, vinyl had a good renaissance and all that, but it's it's still very, very small numbers, I think, or volumes. So I figured, why not swap things around? Why should I put out an album with 12 songs and it has the longevity of, let's say, a month in the best of cases? So why don't I put out one single each month instead throughout the whole year digitally? And then I collect it all by the end of the year, like in December in this case, then I put it out on an album, which I did with extra bonus tracks like this. Mm-hmm. This is heavy metal, plain and simple, Unfortunately, the vinyl production all over the planet has been kind of delayed due to lack of plastic or even to print the lack of wood even for the album covers and so forth. So it's been delayed, but now on Friday, 6th of May, then I'm going to go pick it up, the vinyls. And so I can actually have a proper release for it. But that's basically what I've been working on. And to do those kind of things in the pandemic, going back on how you record. I mean, I had a lot of people like Dan McCafferty. He was supposed to be on one of the songs, but he apparently, I talked to his manager and he was like, a bit old and couldn't deliver or whatever, or I didn't want to do it or something. I wanted to bring in a lot of guest stars to appear on this for each and every song. And it was a lot of my old heroes and colleagues, old friends and all like that. So I have Thomas Wikström and Gus G. I talked to the guy in Saxon, Paul Quinn to do this solo, and I had Ross the Boss, and I have a lot of different people there. So I wanted to make something quite unique about that. In the past, you could say that, I don't have time now, we're on tour. But during the pandemic, no, you're not. so now it's the time to do that, And everybody just send off the song and they record it at home, in their home
Yeah,
studio.
I thought it was an incredible concept. When we've been talking quite a bit over the last year, you and me, and you when you told me about your plan to release, one song every month for 12 months, and then at the end, put it all together and make a record, a record package with some bonus tracks. You've got the CD right there. The vinyl we're gonna have next week. It's gonna be available to everybody soon. Snowy Shore, this is metal, plain and you can get the album, you can get the book. So there's a lot of stuff going on for fans that want to catch up with what Snowy Shore's doing right now. And I recommend they do, or someone's going to get hurt.
Snowy, do you find that model, like, I notice other bands, they try that one song and then another song and then another song, that it's sort of just like anything, just like an album, it releases, it's got the highest sales, but then after the second single, it kind of dips. And then the third single, it kind of dips. It never captures that same momentum. But maybe I'm wrong, but I find that we still haven't found that formula yet,
Yeah, but that's very true. I mean, I've been thinking quite a lot about this. On one hand, we're stepping into the future. I mean, this kind of, internet age, everything is streamed. People don't buy physical albums in that sense. But at the same time, it's also back to the 60s when they put out singles, like the first Sweet album that I have, for example, is Greatest Hits. It's Papa Joe and Wig Wam Bam and all that. And then some extra songs that weren't released as singles, just to have a good selling point for people to buy the LP, the long play. And so we're back at that at the same time, because people, I guess, they create their own playlist on Spotify and so forth, and they just pick the raisin from the cooking. They don't listen to the entire album. So to make a concept album with some sort of story, cohesiveness running through like that, it's kind of shooting over the heads of people. They maybe don't want that. Of course, there's a fraction of people that still want to put on an album and sit there totally focused and just actively listen to that. But for most people, it's so convenient to have your library of music in your phone, and you can just switch and you put on the list that you want. So everything's changing, and you gotta adapt to that, or you're just gonna be in the past, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you have to. I mean, it's always that thing. You see people saying, "Well, I still buy the vinyl, I buy the CD. Only physical is real." Okay, but these people are a minority. So you can pout and you can be that way and you can say fuck digital and don't do this and no Spotify, but you're gonna be like that crazy old guy in your apartment with 27 VHS tapes and
Giles.
you do have to at some point say this is the way forward, this is the technology. Otherwise, we'll still be listening to music on a cylinder and the pre-vinyl thing. It is what it is. There's people in Detroit that don't make cars anymore.
Yeah. But that's the way it is. You may not like it, but okay, adapt or die. That's the way it is. I mean, it's very accessible. Yeah. I mean, I remember when I put out my first solo live album, like that, captured that live show, and I went on tour with Therion, and I was speaking in the lobby of the hotel in Mexico, and this guy said, "Why don't you put it out on a physical CD so we can buy it? I mean, it's just digital." And I said, I don't want to be rude, but maybe we are a little bit ahead of you here or something. So I took my phone and I said, mention one song from everything that you want to hear. And he picked some song with Nightwish, and okay, here it is. Anything else? So Spotify is so accessible. You can have it all. I'm not, the problem isn't that. I mean, the problem is that you won't earn too much money from the streams. That is the problem, I think, for artists and bands. But as a consumer, it's very accessible. I mean, that's what I've listened to all the time.
Yeah.
Me too.
I guess, people are excited that vinyl is sort of taken off, but I don't think it's taken off where you can actually quit your day job. It's just putting a little money in your pocket, and that's about it.
I mean, it's so hard to make it. I mean, if you would print, I mean, you still have the same kind of cost just to start the process to print vinyls. And in the past, if we're starting small, printing 25,000, okay, now it's down to 300, and that's the limit or something. That's the minimum. Yeah, and still there are not many people that buys that, and that goes for everyone, I think, because it's for collectors, it's nostalgia, and it's all kinds of other things. These statistics are a few years old, but let's say 4 years ago, the statistics says that 80% of those who buy vinyls, they don't even have a turntable, a record player. They just keep it. They don't even open it because they collect it, put it on the shelf. It looks good. I love the artwork, it's big and all that. But it's very convenient to take a walk in the forest or sit in your car and listen to it when it's streamed.
Exactly.
It's like stamp collecting. In my day, people used to collect stamps. They have books and books and books of stamps, right? They didn't mail them; they just collected them. And
I collect souls.
Oh, yes, of course.
Yeah, but I gotta say that surprisingly, you can see that there's actually young girls and teenagers collecting vinyls because they grew up in a digital age and they never saw that. For a lot of guys our age, it's probably nostalgia and the way it's supposed to be. You can smell it when you open it and all that. But I think it's a guy thing. I mean, it stems back to when we were cavemen, collectors, hunters and collectors. We like to collect stuff. You want to have the full collection. But once you have the full collection of something, I collect Tintin books or something. Yeah, wow, I don't have Tintin in Africa or whatever. Yeah, but once it's complete, what are you going to do then? Then it lost its value. Then you throw it out or sell it.
There's also something else that's changed. Back in the day, we didn't have phones, we didn't have computers. So what else are you going to do? You're going to sit there in your living room and put on an album, and you'd sit through it because you couldn't really change the needle, right?
Yeah.
So what else? You either went outside, or you listened to music inside, or you watched TV. Yeah. And those are the limitations. Now you have just so many things. I got to reveal a thing. I mean, an album that I've been working on for years in my mind and been writing songs for and all that. And I was thinking I'm gonna fucking stick it to them, like, fuck you. You won't pick the races from the cookie here, because I'm just gonna put out one song that's like 50 minutes long. Because everything else, it's like cohesiveness. It's one long, thick as a brick,
symphony or something like that. And people's gonna be really pissed off at me for that. Why? I love that song. Yeah, but you have to fast forward. I am of this opinion that if I read a book, I don't start on page 122. I start from the beginning and read all the way through. The same thing with a movie. I don't start like 20 minutes in. Oh, well, who's that guy? Yeah, but if you watch it from the beginning, then you would understand. Same thing with music. But I don't think that people consume music in the same way as we did when we grew up.
And I think that's my point. My point is we don't consume, because if you wanted to hear the new song by a certain band, you'd have to wait by the radio for hours. You'd be waiting at the radio. Okay. And the DJ knew this. And he made you sit through everybody else's albums. And you just sit there and wait until they play the new Rush song. And then you finally hear it and you tape it. Yeah. And then, but still, you had to sit through. You had to patience.
Yeah, but that is also the charm of it, to wait.
Yes, absolutely.
The attention span, I think it's like minimized to probably like 100 times less now than it was 15 years ago.
Yes, absolutely.
Everything is just a click away. So it loses its value the same way. Just remember when you went out, okay, it's Friday, let's buy some chips and we have like a sit home and watch films, videos. And you went out and rented because, wow, this looks cool, look at that. And then you did that. On Netflix, I had like maybe 15 minutes that I started to watch. Fuck that shit. And I went and I choose something else, Easy come, easy.
But I'll tell you something else, Noe. Back in the day, there was also this mystique. Okay, who's this guy? And who's this guy? That's all you had. Yeah. You had the pictures from the albums, right? Now everybody's on social media and you're just telling all the artists off and the artists are telling off you. And, there's arguments happening online. We have access to artists, and artists have access to their fans, and that sort of mystique, that sort of, there was this buffer before. Now that buffer is gone. Yeah. In ways it's good, in ways it's bad, right? Just like anything. It's not our fault. It's just what it is, right?
Yeah, but going back on that, I mean, Ghost, I can understand that Kiss managed to pull that off, in not showing their faces or their true identities in the past, in the 70s. But that Ghost managed to do that in this modern times.
Yeah,
You know,
he did for a while.
yeah, and that was really good. I mean, that's so impressive. And that is probably why it added on to the mystique and mysteriousness, like, wow, who are these people? Blah, blah, blah. I even heard rumors that I was the drummer in the band, you know.
There you go.
You're a ghoul. You're a ghoul 4.
Yeah, but I got to say, kudos to Tobias. I mean, he's such a clever guy. He was putting on the mask and doing an interview as one of the ghoul or something. And I thought, wow, he's really well spoken and he understands it all. I mean, that member of the band, but it was Tobias himself, of course.
No. You know what? He played it, and he used today's technology and today's social media to play it up.
Yeah.
Very few people could pull it off. Very few people could do it, and he pulled it off. So hats off to him. I have nothing but good things to say. That's it. All right.
Well, I think we've kind of covered it. I mean, let's get that book on screen again, and let's get that CD up there. If you want to show those off. So you can just to remind everybody, you can get Snowy Shaw, the Book of Heavy Metal, where he goes into great detail about his lengthy and illustrious career, and then we also have the CD there. This is Heavy Metal, Plain and Simple, which is his new record. Some of you may have heard the singles that he's released over the past years. You can now, last 12 months, you can now get it all in one package with some bonus tracks.
I gotta say, I mean, to make that album, that is why I call it Heavy Metal, Plain and Simple, because I allowed myself, normally I write with sort of like a very clear direction of what it should be. Here I allowed myself to do pretty much everything, like a little bit more popular, more melodic, more death metal, or every kind of thing. I just allowed myself to do that. And some of the songs are songs that were, for one or the other reason, not used with Dream Evil, for example. That song, Weekend Warrior, for example, but I couldn't remember it. I just remember the chorus. I rewrote the verses and all that. But it felt good to sort of, go full circle with this. So I got to say that the song that I wrote, the oldest song that I ever picked up, I wrote that when I was 16. It was me and Charlie playing, and I wrote this song Gladiator based on my fascination for this Swedish band called Torch. And I also had Michael Moon, who was later on in King Diamond. So I invited him to do a guest solo there. And we haven't played together since we were 17 or something. And I also invited on guest vocals Dan Dark, the singer from this band that I was inspired by. They also had a song called Gladiator. So it was a lot of, let's say, catharsis in the same way the book was, like collecting everything and tying all the loose ends together.
And we should also mention the Book of Heavy Metal. The CD from Dream Evil, the Book of Heavy Metal, is a phenomenal album, and Gus G, of course, plays on it, who's a great guitarist. It's just one of my favorite Dream Evil albums.
I think so too. It's actually my album.
Well, yeah, you wrote a lot of it, so
Going back on that, I mean, people are like, oh, who's playing this and.
Okay, now Snowy froze. Charles?
Frozen, the frozen internet.
He was doing good. He was doing really well for about 20 minutes. There was no
I think we should probably wrap this before we put people through too much more frozen internet. But thanks. I mean, do check out Snowy's new book, The Book of Heavy Metal. Check out the CD. This is Heavy Metal, Plain and Simple. All of this can be easily accessible on his Facebook page. Snowy's easy to find. He's a great guy. I've been working with him, on and off for the last year. And I hope he comes back. He's frozen. He's dropped out totally. He's gone.
And now we are just you and me?
That's just you and me. Cool.
So on that note, we'll drop off.
Dream Evil, The Book of Heavy Metal was a great record, and it was Snowy's record. He was the one who initiated that.
All right, guys.
All right. It's been good.